Welcome to another Big Jimny video. In this video we're going to look at the seating position in the LCV. That's the light commercial vehicle, which is the only Jimny that we get in Europe. Let's dive straight into the video. As you can see, the LCV is a van specification which is brought about by the emissions regulations in Europe. They can only sell it as a van at the moment. And the van therefore has to have a separation between the passengers, the driver and the passenger, and the luggage compartment. And this is achieved in Suzuki's cars by putting in a metal lower panel and then a grille across the top. So this is the grille in its fully installed position. It is installed with bars that go up and down either side of the rear window. So it's secured top and bottom there, and it's secured behind the front seats with a couple of bolts that go into the floor. The issue that people talk about with these is that the grille prevents the front seats from going fully back, which restricts the seating position in the front of the car. Now I am 5'11", and I personally don't have any issues with the seating position. But then I'm slightly older, so I like a nice upright firm position. I'm not one of the sort of boy racers who wants to lean back and operate the steering wheel. So it's okay for me, which is why I haven't made this video before. But with another Jimny like this one arriving in the family, there's been much discussion about the seating position. So I thought I'd make this video to show in a bit more detail how you can play around with it. So before we start, we just take some basic measurements so that we have a reference. These measurements are not in any way specific, they're just arbitrary. I'm just measuring from points on the dashboard through to the seat, and I'm doing it based on my 5'11" seating position. So here we are 280 millimeters or 28 centimeters from the dashboard to the base of the seat. And then we are 91 centimeters, 910 millimeters from the headrest base through to the dashboard. So there are two ways to extend the space available behind this grille. The first is to remove the grille, the top part of the grille itself, which will enable the back of the seat to come back a little bit further, whilst retaining the metal panel here. This will stop any luggage or any bits and pieces you've got still coming through to the front. The other way is to remove both this upper panel and this lower panel, which will give you the full movement of the seats, but of course will allow bits and pieces to come through the front. Now, regulations will be different in different countries as to whether you're allowed to remove these panels or not. That is up to you to find out what the rules or regulations are in your country. First, we'll look at getting the grille out to give us that little bit extra space. First, we move the seats forward on either side. This gives us enough space to access the grille. With the seat moved forward, we can access the grille bolts at the top and at the halfway level. So the grille is still held in place by these little tags that it sits on either side, one at the top and one at the bottom. So what you do is you have to lift it out of the top one. I've already done the other side, so I'll just finish off this side. You just lift it up to release it from there, unhook it, and then it unhooks from the one at the bottom, and you can then lift the grille out of the car. Having removed the grille, you'll notice that the base is forward of this bottom bracket. And we said that one of the ways of gaining more space is to remove the grille but keep the base in. So what we need to do is move this base back behind this bracket here. The way we do that is to release this bolt on the bracket, which allows it to move, and we can then bring this forward of this captive nut here. And then the base appears on this side of the bracket, and you can bolt through using a spacer onto here, therefore moving the top of the base back. So let's take a look at that. Then this can move up out of the way, and we can bring the base back behind the mount, like so. We then tighten the mount back up. Now, depending on how much spacing you want, you need to put a spacer in this gap here. So I'm going to improvise here. That's an M6 bolt, which fits into that captive nut. But I'm just going to use an M8 bolt, M8 nut to act as a spacer. The top grid removed, we're back to looking at our measurements, and you can see here that at the top we have 94 centimetres or 940 millimetres from the headrest to the dashboard. So we've gained around about 3 centimetres, 30 millimetres there. The only thing to watch is, of course, the back of the seat is now resting on the partition. So this would result in some wear of the fabric if you left it like that. So when you do the spacing, make sure the spacing takes the metal panel right off the back of the seat. The final part, if we wanted to take the whole partition out, is that we undo these bolts here at the bottom. With the base and the grille removed, the measurement for the back of the seat is irrelevant, because of course the back of the seat now goes back down nearly flat behind the seat. So the only measurement we can take here is to show you where the seat squab moves. If you can remember, for my seating position it was 28 centimetres. Well, we can now get out to 36 before the seat itself meets the end of the rail on the base of the seat. So this is not a dimension that's constrained by the grille. It's a measurement that's constrained by the length of the bars underneath the seat. And you can actually buy repositioning kits, just a couple of brackets that move the seat back a little bit further if you need even more seating room. Now for some bonus information. You may recall on the SZ5, here's one here, the boast was that you could fold flat the front seats and the rear seats to make a complete flat platform front to back, as you can see here. So the big question is, can you do this on the LCV? And I'm afraid the answer is no. You can nearly do it, so it doesn't mean you have got a full front to back space, but unfortunately you cannot get it to fold completely flat. Reason is this edge here that stands forward of where the floor is on the SZ5, and that prevents the seat from folding all the way down. As you can see, the floor is just a plastic box, which in theory can be removed. These plastic boxes do just lift out with the undoing of a couple of bolts and press studs, and you could probably either remove them altogether or in some way improvise a cut to the front if you really were into modifying your vehicle so that these seats would then come down flat. But clearly I'm not into that, so we'll just leave it as it is for now. Well, I hope you enjoyed this latest video from Big Jimny. All that's left for me to do is to put the car back together again. In the meantime, if you liked it, then please press like and subscribe, and you'll get notifications of when the next video is. And until the next time, drive safely.